Hello. Good morning. Happy Friday. Welcome to Personality. Sending a welcome to you on the Friday of the first week. I apologize. I meant to get something to you sooner. It's just the first week can always be a very interesting one, and didn't mean to put you all on a back burner, but my other courses have been a little more interesting. A lot more moving parts, a lot of craziness. So I had a lot of fires to put out, things like that. You guys have been running pretty smooth. I think you pretty well know what you're doing at this stage in your academic career. So I had all the confidence in the world with you all. Didn't mean to ignore you at all. It was also my twins turned 5 this week, so it's been crazy town trying to deal with birthday parties and what? No, not now. No, it's bad. Go. Bad time. So my house is full of unicorns and dinosaurs, and I don't even know. I haven't discovered it all. Anyway, so welcome to Personality. Uh, where to begin? So I guess I could start. I didn't include very much on the front end of the course. I had a little blurb that's like, "Hi, hey, this is me," and but I didn't tell you much about myself. And I've been starting to go through. I haven't had a chance to respond yet, but I've been looking at your sort of introductions and your discussions where you're talking about things, and so I'm looking forward to today and into the weekend getting to finally look through some of those and start to get to know a little bit about you all, at least insofar as one can in this weird digital world. But just a quick blurb about me. I'm Chris Collins. I will be the fearless captain of this ship for the term with all of us. And my background, I spent most of my adult life in Montana. That's where I did all of my education, my bachelor's, master's, PhD, I all did at the University of Montana, Missoula. So any Montana people out there, like we're fast friends already. My arena is technically it's experimental psychology, but the emphasis being in behavioral neuroscience. And so spend most of my time doing comparative animal behavior stuff. I've worked with all manner of animals, ranging from wolves to rats to fish to dogs to freshmen, which I don't suggest at all. But kind of across the board with a lot of different species, and always sort of coming at it with a biological kind of evolutionary framework of trying to understand behavior in an ecological sense and the like, and also with a heavy emphasis on the neuroscience behind it. That's kind of my other subtrack specialty, is in actual clinical neuropsychology. I don't practice clinically at this stage, but I do a lot of work where we would go in and work with individuals with various forms of brain injury, traumatic brain injury, stroke, dementias, tumors. I mean, really, really feel good stuff. But it's actually extraordinarily fascinating, and hopefully, as we're kind of going through the term, even though this isn't really a neuroscience course per se, you're always going to probably get a feel a little bit for my bent, and kind of where I come from on these things. And so for a lot of years now, I've actually been teaching at a number of different places, a lot of different colleges and universities. This will be my second year here at OSU. And typically my courses, by way of teaching, would be in the areas of neuroscience, research methods, statistics, all the real hits, the favorites, learning and behavior and animal behavior. At any rate, all the kind of very if you want to sort of think of these classes on a spectrum within psychology, I tend to be way more on the kind of rigid, scientific kind of side of things. Not that personality isn't sort of within that same sphere, but it's certainly a little further over on this end of the spectrum. So it's actually kind of fun to kind of leave behind some of the stuff that I spend all my time doing, and shift a little further over into this realm that's more theoretical, a little more ephemeral, and a little harder to kind of pin down, a little more philosophical, quite frankly. So this is a really enjoyable course for me in that regard. And I hope it's going to be a really enjoyable course for you all too, because how can you not find this topic just fascinating. We're going to really try and explore really deep questions that pertain to really deep questions about, who are we? Why am I the way? Why did I go and get this stupid thing to do a stupid thing in a video? Anyone who knows me wouldn't be surprised by that, but that's part of my personality. Where the hell does that come from? I was the same jackass when I was in the first grade, second grade, getting sent to the principal's office because I was doing, jackass things, trying to get attention and laughs and that sort of a thing. Where does this come from? How much of it came from Mel and Deb, my parents? How much of it came from that environment in which I was in second grade? I made the joke and Sheila Mudge was paying attention to me. Sheila was paying attention to me. Just saying. So it was reinforced. We're going to go through all manner of different theories that try to not just get a sense for the origins of things like personality. We're going to try to get deeper too and say, what the hell do you even mean necessarily by personality? This, like so many other courses in psychology, is one of those where we all use these terms. We've been using them probably the better part of our lives. But then when you actually stop and examine it, and if I asked you prior to looking in textbooks or something like that to give me a definition of what constitutes personality, and then you ask me, and then I ask anybody, we're all going to start to kind of triangulate on a common idea. But the themes, the variables, the emphases, the ideas are actually going to be quite different. So how do we even start to come to reasonable conclusions where we can agree upon definitional components, let alone going from that starting point out to really higher order, interesting, vastly, questions with very large implications, and that start to strain into other disciplines like philosophy, like sociology and anthropology, and there's just a lot to it. And it's going to be really fun to get to spend the next several weeks with you guys diving into those things, having those conversations and the like. You'll undoubtedly notice that a big portion of this course is going to be spent within the discussion forums. And I have mixed feelings when it comes to discussion forums. When I'm teaching quantitative methods or statistics, really it's just a place for people to go and kind of collectively cry. But when it comes to a course like this, these are big ideas that touch on all of our lives in profound and inescapable ways at all times. And the theories, the ideas, the conclusions that these thinkers and folks have come up with are not conclusive. They're not set in stone. All of it is up for conversation. All of it is up for debate. And generally in a course like this, I really enjoy the discussion sections of these courses because we have the opportunity to really get into it. And in particular too, I can tell you right out of the gate, I've never been on the receiving end of an online course. And I've very rarely even been on this end of online teaching. It's still settling with me, but I hate not being in the classroom. I desperately wish I was sitting in a room with all of you, having these conversations rather than sitting in my house talking to myself in front of my computer, which I'm getting more used to, but it's still pretty fucking weird. At any rate, the discussion forums at least will give us an opportunity to interact and to have some interesting conversations and the like. And at this stage, this is a 370 course. I'm certain that most of you probably have more experience with Canvas and online learning, things like that, than even I do at this stage. So I anticipate you know what's going on and kind of what's expected and the like. But as we move along, hopefully that will evolve, and we will kind of develop a communal relationship with one another, albeit asynchronously and from our little individual corners of the world and the like. So for what it's worth, I don't want to take up a bunch of time. I've already been talking at you for, about 10 minutes. Okay. So real quick, I don't think that there's too many logistical components to address with this course, thankfully. We have the discussion forums, as I was just referring to. We have the quizzes that follow up the information that you will be covering. The content is laid out, of course, in weekly modules, as is probably the case for almost any course that you've taken here or elsewhere. What was I just going to add to that piece? There is, you'll notice as you're going through, for instance, like with the lectures were given by a different faculty member rather than myself. And it just seemed ridiculous since they have expertise and did a really wonderful job of putting those things together. No reason to reinvent the wheel just to hear my voice instead of somebody else's. But that also creates a strange dynamic where I don't want it to feel like there's a disjointed piece of my relationship to the course. All of you are going to have a different approach, particularly as it pertains to online learning. I know that for a huge number of you, you're probably almost on your way out with your degree. You know the ins and outs of these courses, you know what's expected of you, and you're going to live your life, you're going to do the course, you're going to send in the things, and we may or may not have much interaction at all between myself and yourself, and that's perfectly acceptable if that's where you're comfortable and that's how you want to do it. For others of you, the way I sort of explain it is I want to be as involved with your learning and with this course as you want me to be. And so if you are a person who is doing your own thing and you know what's up and you don't need much, by all means, I don't need to be poking in and harassing you, and I certainly won't. But for the rest of you, I just want to encourage you to please communicate. Be in touch. Don't be a stranger. Even though, you're going to see me lurking around in the discussion forums, you're going to be getting messages from me. Occasionally I do these video messages rather than emails because my emails tend to be, well, as long as my damn videos are, and it's really tough to maintain anything like consciousness when you're trying to read through chapter 14 of my email, laying out the answers to whatever questions. At any rate, you will be seeing me, but I also want to be more involved if I can be, in whatever capacity that is. So, of course, there's always email, but I'm always available here on video chats. I'm always available via phone, whatever is going to be the most useful to you. I mean, that's why I'm here. I'm a resource. I'm here to do what I can. So please just let me know what that is. So the discussion forums, the quizzes, these things should all be reasonably laid out, very straightforward. The other piece, of course, is that we have the exams. And so you've surely read, these are also hopefully very straightforward. They're simply there'll be 2 initial midterm exams. They will cover the content of the sections that we cover prior to them. Basic, multiple choice, straightforward kinds of exams. We are now using, hopefully Proctorio as the sort of go-to default exam taking technology. And so if you aren't familiar with that, I believe I uploaded my most recent instructions, those kinds of things. I will go and double check on that. But if you do have questions, problems, anything like that, you will need Chrome as a browser to utilize it. And certainly as we get closer to the times in which those take place, I'll be in touch a lot more about the specifics surrounding those. There was a question you might see that I just got back to on the discussion forum pertaining to the exams. I had mistakenly left up a version that's called the speeded exam, which was kind of a vestige from when we initially had started this whole process during the pandemic, and we were all scrambling to find tools to make everything work. And so I'm going to go in and try to make some of those adjustments and the like. At this stage, just plan for the general Proctorio usual exam style that you're probably accustomed to. Those 2 should be reasonably straightforward. The other part of the question that had been posed to me was whether or not I'd be posting study guides for those exams. And the quick and dirty answer to that is that generally I don't do study guides for 300 level and above courses. But it is true that in a course like this, for instance, we're going to have these 2 midterm exams. Those are going to be taking place during weeks in which you're still going to be doing your quiz, your discussion forums, the other pieces of the course too. So you don't really get much of a reprieve in the way of preparation and that sort of a thing. And so what I did post there is that I am happy to try and put together some kind of a study guiding, some kind of a document, something that would be a useful way for you to have a more navigable way to study and prepare for those things. And I say it in that message, and I say it again now because I mean it. Don't let me forget this. I have great intentions, and I say, yes, I'll do this thing and that kind of thing. But then life goes back to the term, and I get crazy and going, and I'm a total airhead. So I'll likely forget. So don't be bashful about reminding me, and I'll try to get those up with sufficient time so you actually have time to, utilize them in preparation. The last one, so the final exam for this course is a little bit different. I'll give you a lot more detail. That's still a ways off on the horizon, but that horizon always arrives far more quickly than we anticipate it will. But that one is it's called an essay, which don't freak out. People start breathing into bags and losing their minds when you say something like that. They're very short, brief essays. They're not terribly involved, and I will give you the kind of information that you're going to need in preparation to take that. Again, I'll fill you in later, but really all you're going to be doing is doing a couple of short answer essay questions pertaining to two specific major thinkers, contributors, theorists, who are going to spend a lot of time with during the term, kind of studying their ideas, who they were, where did they come from, what was the zeitgeist, what were the ideas, how does it play into contemporary thinking and the like. So the big banner for that one is don't freak out. You say essay exam, it's not going to be nearly as bad as that sort of makes it sound. Okay, that was a disjointed, but I think I got sort of most of the parts in there, and I've let this run way too long already, over 15 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and shut up and let you all go. So I'm excited to work with you this term, again, depending on your particular desires, needs, wants. Going through the term, that'll look like different things as far as how much you and I are involved with things. But irrespective of that, I'm excited to work with you. I'm excited to get into the discussions and start to work through some of these really big and fascinating ideas with you. Be in touch. Let me know what I can do, how I can be helpful, what resources you need. And otherwise, I hope that this finds you really well in whatever corner of the world you happen to be at this point. And take good care of yourself and one another, and we'll be in touch. All right. Cheers.